Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the NEWSELA presentation in exposing social and emotional learning in the public school systems. This is our summer heat series, and I will let you know NEWSELA is going to turn up the heat for us to be aware so we can inform people that can make changes in the schools on the behalf of these students and families. So let's jump in and get started. Now, I'm going to start out, first of all, with the screen itself. I was talking with Diane earlier, and this is the NEWSELA logo right here that has all of the gay pride striping on it right now. It's an N because you can see the little curve here across it. But anyway, that is their logo. So that just jumps out at you from the start. And so let's just go through this, and this will be a little different because I'm going to have to do a little preliminary work to help you understand what's taking place with laws in our schools in order for you to understand why NEWSELA is so sinister. So let's just go into that as well. Now, this is the same PDF form that you have for the other companies that we've been exposing. So you'll be able to see that and understand that. So I'm not going to take time to, read through all of this. So, but when this is posted tonight this afternoon on my website, you'll be able to just read all the way through it and use this however you see fit. My hope, and remember the design of this repository of videos and webinars is for you to go in and be able to use these to share them with your family that have children in schools, for you to share them with people in your church that has children with schools, for you to be able to share this with your legislators, your constitutional sheriff, or whoever you think you want to get this information to. Because there are definitely parental laws that are being broken in a lot of these school systems, and we need to hold our educators to account. It's arguable that there are even ethical issues. Of course there are. If the laws are being broken, that's a violation of the code of ethics. So these are things we need to get ourselves aware of, and we need to get going on getting this work done so we can take this to the local level. And so you as parents will be educated on what's happening, and you'll be just well-versed, and you'll understand about these systems. Now, I'm going to tell you something. A lot of teachers don't understand what I understand about these systems. They'll say, we're not teaching this. I've told you this in other seminars as well, but a lot of them do, and they'll still say they don't. So it's just a matter of, is this an ethical person or whatever? So anyway, NEWSELA is interesting in itself because they are taking the news and they're making it ELA. But what other little acronym do you see in the middle of NEWSELA? You see SEL. So let's look through all the way, and I'll show you all the trickery. I'm probably just scraping the surface. There's probably far more trickery in it than I'm even able to see. So anyway, let's work through it. So CASEL has not rated NEWSELA. NEWSELA is an ELA product, and it's what they would call an extra resource in a school. And so you're not going to find a CASEL rating on it, but this is the program description is ELA. I didn't have any notifications on Planned Parenthood. I tried to do a search on my account. Anyone can make an account with NEWSELA. It's called NEWSELA Lite, and you don't have to pay for it, but you barely get anything from it. But you can search in there. You can see what is premium content because they're proud of their vast library. You just can't access what it is. But what you can do is take those words and put them in Google, and you can find what newspaper wrote the articles. So you can tell what articles they're using to teach students, and you'll find that interesting in just a few moments too, as I continue to disclose. But what I want to speak to you about first and foremost right now is called media literacy. Media literacy is being it is being codified in several states. Matter of fact, they are targeting every state for this. And so I'm going to let Mike Benz. Now, Michael Benz, you may have seen him on Tucker Carlson. He does a lot of cyber investigations, and he didn't have time to do a video that he wanted to do properly, but he had to get this out in order for those of us that do work in the education systems, in order that we could get this message out to you. He did this a month or two ago, but he is the former Deputy Assistant Secretary for International Communications and Information Policy, Bureau of Economic and Business Affairs. How would you like that to be your job title? It's totally long. Let's go on with his video real quick.
Traveling this week and don't have the bandwidth to make the video that I really want to make on this, but I just want to put something short on the record real quick here about the media literacy scam. Now, this is something that I've been talking about for almost 6 years about this specific scam, but it's accelerated in the past year, and it's really, really accelerated just in the past month, faster than I was expecting it to. And so I want to try to get it out to other people to focus on this while I'm doing other mission critical things. Media literacy, the scam works like this, okay? They're rolling it out in the education system, and they're rolling it out at colleges. They're rolling it out at the science level in academia. They're rolling it out at the researcher level and at the censorship for-profit institution level. But they're also especially embedding it at the K through 12 level. And what is it? What is media literacy? When you hear the words media literacy, you fixate on the word literacy, and you think they're talking about underserved, underprivileged inner city schools with kids who can't read, because we have an epidemic of illiteracy and low literacy rates among a lot of our youth. So you hear that word literacy and you think that's what they're talking about. That is not what it is at all. Media literacy says if you don't read the right media sources, official state-backed media or government sources or regime-compliant media, then you are illiterate. You are media illiterate, and you need to get your mind right to read the right media sources. So media literacy is just regime media installation, and it is about institutional embedding of censorship organs within K through 12 schools, within higher ed, and then at the capacity building side by tons and tons of government money propping this up. Now, let's just go through a couple other levels of this. So the methods, media literacy is literally about training you to be stupid, to be dumb. The underlying presupposition of the field, the illegitimate field of media literacy, is that if you do critical thinking, you will become a heretic. You will become a wrong thinker, a dissident, a heterodox person. If you think critically, if you go down the rabbit hole, if you do your own independent research, you will not trust the regime. You will not trust the system. You will not trust government narratives. You won't trust legacy mainstream media. And so they teach methods. The curriculums for media literacy programs are about how not to do your own research. I'm not joking. You can look all this up. For example, the SIF method is one of these core things that have been developed. And it just says when you have a research topic and you want to look something up for school, you want to look something up in your own private time, don't go down the rabbit hole. Don't think independently. Sift through the top 10 results of a Google search and Wikipedia approved sources. Now, mind you, Wikipedia currently lists Elon Musk as a far-right conspiracy theorist and bans the ability to even have most conservative or centrist outlets even allowed to be cited. So it pre-bans the ability to even access news institutions that might challenge government narratives. Okay, this is Clockwork Orange on steroids, and it's being mandated by governments. And this is the part that I was not expecting to happen so fast. Okay, the state of California just last week passed a mandatory media literacy law requiring every public K through 12 school in the entire state to have mandatory media literacy classes. Now, every single actor in the censorship industry is doing touchdown dances, spinning the basketball, with one finger, Wilt Chamberlain, Harlem Globetrotter style, just stunting on the rest of the world that's had its eyes closed, because this is millions and millions of dollars that automatically flow into their pockets, because it is mandatory, government required capacity building to do this. Okay, there are going to be 10,000 people at least just in the schools in California systems who are going to need to be these teachers in all these classes, K through 12. You're going to need to train an army of educators on how not to trust alternative news or Elon Musk's vision at X, or you can social media influencers who disagree on public health or on electoral politics or on environmental issues or on abortion or on immigration or energy or any of that, okay? All of it, so again, it's not just the curriculum. That's actually only a tiny part of it. It's the civil society capacity building. That's just mandatory government money to a censorship mercenary army in charge of your kids. That just passed in California. It already passed in Illinois. It's already in Rhode Island. It's now in New York. This industry could not support itself. And while there is success right now at the federal level with things that have been done around these major class action lawsuits, the Missouri v. Biden, the America First lawsuit, the congressional investigations and subpoenas, they're going down into the state governments and one by one, capacity building the industry to destroy the alternative news industry. And this has got to be challenged before it gets its roots down, because they're going to make the argument, if we don't stop it now, they're going to make the argument that you're going to have hundreds of thousands of public employees who are going to be put out of a job if you kill media literacy later. Which is to say, they're going to make the same argument that coal miners in West Virginia, would make. Well, if you shut down the mine, you're going to put all these people out of jobs. They're training a generation of censorship professionals tied to the teat of government-backed censorship operations. Their careers are going to be attached to this. They will be out of jobs. They won't be able to provide for their families if you take away their censorship jobs. That's literally going to be the world we're going to be in if this thing isn't killed now. So there's a lot to do on this, but I just want to drop this now. And just every time you hear the word media literacy, or you see someone who say that, drop this link in those replies.
So you see how that is going to be interesting for us to deal with right now. So media literacy is a real thing, though. I mean, some people would look at this and say, oh my gosh, Marcia, that's so alarmist. Well, yeah, it's alarmist, but wait till you see how it works with the rest of it. If you saw that, you'd be like, oh, I don't know about that. No, he's right. And he knows the system in order to bring the truth out of that from being, the former deputy assistant and that long title. So let's keep going. NEWSELA has a few partners, and they have one merger here with formative assessments. And Texas actually has brought them on to do their assessments for history or social studies or something like that. It's in one of our other exposés further in the document. So formative assessments, you can read about that on that link there. They are the leading real-time instruction and assessment platform. So what this means is digitally, the teachers can ask a student a question, and it's like they can just plug in all their answers right there, and the teacher in real time knows all of what the class is learning. And so it's not just that the teacher gets to know this, it's also that probably the cloud gets to know this and the data collection on it. NEWSELA also partners with BrainPop, and I don't know how many of you have looked into BrainPop on YouTube. It is right there in your face. You don't even need an access code. BrainPop has gone woke. You can see them using pronouns. You can see them using, they're just doing all of it. So they'll talk about anything and everything, Harvey Milk, all of it. They've covered CRT. There's all kinds of things they've done. NEWSELA also partners with the New York Times, Howard Zinn, the 1619 Project, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and along with a lot of other partners that you see there. Here's some other partners that I was showing Diane before we got started. So there are many, many partners, and not all of them are, when he's talking about media literacy, we know that many of these work in tandem together to bring about a false narrative. So just keep that in the forefront of your mind. Now, language contamination is something that, that they really are doing with media literacy. This comes from Courage is a Habit. Alvin Louis, he always provides great stuff for us. Anyway, he pretty much talks about how they use our vocabulary without our dictionary. And I kind of get that little tagline there, but right now our dictionary is even being redefined. If you look at one of your old dictionaries from years past and compare it to now, it'll shock you. But media literacy is only information from the mainstream media and government agencies is deemed credible as part of a deliberate campaign to undermine the legitimacy of independent media and journalists. If you consume information from approved sources, then you're literate. Otherwise, you are illiterate. This is a national and global campaign to push propaganda to the masses. So if your child has to do a term paper and they have to use references, they will have their paper marked off if they've used a reference paper or reference source that provides the truth, pretty much. So there you go. So not only are your children going to have compelled speech with pronouns, possibly, if Title IX takes a grip in your state, but this really would be compelled as well, because they won't even let the kids use the resources that they feel bring the truth of what they're trying to say. So, so much for your truth and my truth and the truth. You're going to have to figure this out on your own, parents, on how you'll represent your child with that. So NEWSELA has created the perfect indoctrination tool here, though. It's propaganda news plus ELA, and SEL is the Trojan element woven into the videos. You can learn about all of that with the Castle series. If this is your first time being with us today, I have all of these on the parentsonthelevel.com, and just go to the drop down for SEL exposed. Also, they use a social media, Facebook Meta, Giant's massive war chest of funding. We'll go through that. They use their fact checkers called Advantis Media. So get this, Zuckerberg he has Facebook. He expanded it into Meta, and he's also got Instagram, whatever. But then too, he owns pretty much the influence on the Advantis Media fact checkers for Facebook. And then he is one of the the largest mega donors to NEWSELA, and he uses his same fact checkers from Facebook on NEWSELA. So you can't make this up. Very incestuous. They customize lessons for data collection to test the knowledge and adherence to relative information deemed useful by the collective. And they dumb down students by reducing true historical perspectives and classic literature in order to be student-led. California, of course, they're always one of the pace setters for this. This is their law. You can look at their media literacy law, to where they are going to mandate that these classes in the proper resources come through. So I know I'm kind of just going over this a little bit more independently, but I'm being a little repetitive on this, but you'll see why in just a moment. So NEWSELA is organized by Castle competency. So they are definitely pulling in the competencies of Castle, of which we talked about before. Again, make sure that if you've never seen that, go to the part 2 so you can see how they literally convert a child from whatever your belief system is into secular humanism and Marxist theology theories. You can see here, this is students are learning how to be better at spotting fake news. So this is Brain Pop partnering with NEWSELA, teaching students, driving them away from any kind of alternate resources that would challenge the mainstream media. So there you go. Here is Governor Hochul. I don't know if I said that right. Kathy Hochul of New York. She's also pushing for the same kind of media literacy laws there. I think it's already been done. And look at who's teaching. One of the lessons is about AOC. Don't you just want her to be a topic of discussion for your precious child? There you go. So you can read all about that, and you can understand where they're taking it. Once you start going to newsela.com and create your own NEWSELA Lite account, and you just start searching for different things in the search engine, you'll be able to go and do your own research by just looking at the article name and going on Google. Your eyes will start opening to seeing what kind of a platform are they opening in order to teach my children about politics, which is not supposed to happen at schools. Oh, but it's happening. Just hang on. So this is also connected with media literacy, and this talks about the different laws that are being codified state by state by state. You can see too, if you will notice, a lot of these states are states that are battleground states that they are absolutely trying to hammer and turn blue in the future. So they're not far off from it. You've got your answer key here where it talks about state education agency must create K-12 standards and frameworks. You can see that in both Ohio and Florida. You can see it out in California. I mean, when we are comparing to, New Jersey, Delaware, you've got Ohio and Florida. That's something. And then if you look at how schools are required to include instruction in K-12 classrooms, you got Georgia, that you can see where this is coming along. Tennessee created an alternative, some of these that just have just the plain color. So these are things for you guys to dive into, whatever your state is. So make sure that you look into that for your state. Now, I want to click on this one because it has a lot of state information in it. It says report, Florida and Ohio called advanced leaders in K-12 media literacy efforts. That is not true. California and New York probably were more along that. So let's talk about fake media. Anyway, look at how they have, see, this is media literacy now, the site we were just on. Go through here and you can come into, they have other states that they're naming and how they're coming along, more states considering bills. So this is one of those things that they are trying to map out throughout the states, and they will have precedents set and model legislation that probably is going to try to catch fire because there is a lot of money to make. I'm sure I don't have to explain it that much more to you guys. Y'all are some smart people on this call. So here's NEWSELA teaching media literacy. Here is the CEO of NEWSELA, one of his tweets that I've got, cut through the noise, teaching students media literacy. It's like anything that we're going to say that we feel is truthful, they're going to call it noise. Accurate media, free from propaganda. So now here is their fact checker system. So I want you to understand that what they use to teach the students what media bias is. Remember, I told you just a few minutes ago about how Zuckerberg uses this same one in Facebook. So they literally have they have this chart that they have created, and actually Vanessa Otero is the founder and CEO of this, and she created the media bias chart. So anyway, she's on NEWSELA's board of directors too. So make sure you look into all of those little nuances about their company. But when you're saying that CNN and CBS and PBS and NPR are in the middle and they're neutral resources, and that they're more reliable. If you're in the upper side of this chart, that means more reliable. So when you've got, these are the cream of the crops right here at the top here. I've showed that to some people and they just bust out laughing. So this is what they're going to teach your kids, though, based on this chart. You will definitely want to go into that chart and look through it. The wise teacher would actually call this gaslighting 101 and teach students that the system's woke. So, if you're going to have all of this propping up what truly is fake media, maybe it would look something like this. I mean, I think this picture describes what we're trying to say today. I saw that the other day. I said, I gotta have that for my charts here. So this is pretty much what we're saying. All right, so here's one of the last ones in this first part of the seminar or webinar that I want to give to you. So this happened with Donald Trump on Thursday. You see how fast, how quickly NEWSELA has this up for the students to learn about it. And I know that this is history. I get it. This is history. But what I'm saying is this is how fast they work. I mean, this is a news organization and they want to have all this in the moment. So it's not, it used to be like when we were kids, we got to read about it when it was history. No, they're reading about it when it's current. And when you're reading about it when it's current, it hasn't been tried, right? So if they don't follow up and say, oh, that was debunked or whatever, and they just leave this there in their system to read over and over again the way they want the kids to understand it, that's the danger of this kind of media. Yeah, so there you go. Understand what the kids are involved with, guys, because this right here is propaganda on steroids. So what are the teachers learning? Let's look at that for a minute. What are the teachers learning in order to deliver NEWSELA to the students? Okay, so NEWSELA educators take a racial identity course. And let's just look at this video real quick and let's just, get your reaction.
Hey, welcome to the part of the course for Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. My name is Brittany Boyd. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a strategic professional learning manager here at NEWSELA. My racial identity is Black because my ancestors were taken from Africa and enslaved on this land. You're here because you either had ancestors displaced from this land and had it stolen from them, brought to this land and enslaved, or perhaps came here after facing colonization of your homelands. Maybe you're simply here because the color of your skin is a shade of brown, and this is the space that makes the most sense to you. Either way, I want to welcome you to this portion of the course and say that you belong here. There's so much for us to learn about how we are racialized in the United States and the impact it has on us as educators and how we show up in the classroom and within our school communities. Moving forward in this course, you can expect to learn the same information others are learning, but it will be geared towards what matters most to you as a member of the BIPOC group. You are welcome to pause, take notes, reflect, journal as you're going through this portion, whatever is comfortable for you. We want you to engage, move slowly, and deeply process what you are consuming. We have big hopes that you will learn, grow, and continue to lead as educators. So let's dive in.
So there's your start. And you can literally sign up for this class. I did, and that's where I got the video. And that's the first one I saw. And I thought, well, I'll just share the introduction with you because I want to give you a flavor of several things going on in this system. When you're considering people are BIPOC or non-BIPOC, that's just, I don't know. I just feel like, why are we going to classify people like this? It's racist. It just is. So anyway, here's another thing. I really am, these people went in to find out undercover from school administrators. And I'm going to tell you, if you've never gone into a school and talked with the administrators themselves about different curriculum, you should try to and just ask them questions, something you may know about, but just ask them as if you don't know about it, and to see what their response will be, because let's just watch this and you'll see what I'm talking about.
We do have that.
I've had a conversation with NEWSELA and how we can bring some of that curriculum into our schools.
We've got a couple of teachers at the junior high. I think that's using NEWSELA.
And NEWSELA, I feel like, has the dimensions, and then there's the nuance.
I'm Adam Gillette with Accuracy in Media, and today I am sending you a warning. Over the last several months, Accuracy in Media has been conducting a hidden camera investigation across America into the teachings of critical race theory. While talking with administrators and quote-unquote equity officers, we discovered something very scary and, for the most part, hidden from legislators and even from parents. It's called NEWSELA.
There are some really great free history resources out there.
Right. We like the 1619 project.
That is one that right now we're not using.
Really?
Because there's just a lot of pushback on that, and so we've had to say right now we can't.
Other sources that have the same concepts, but no.
We do, and so like we have access to the company is called NEWSELA. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it at all. And they pull, what I love is they just curate a ton of different articles from the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, like kind of all over. And then they rewrite it kid-friendly.
You may not have heard of NEWSELA, but don't sleep on this organization. They are a direct partner of the New York Times and their 1619 project. They're also a partner of the Southern Poverty Law Center and even Howard Zinn. Zinn famously wrote The People's History of the United States, a radically inaccurate, radically progressive retelling of American history. NEWSELA is a Trojan horse for critical race theory.
Do you use NEWSELA though?
Oh, yeah.
Some of our English teachers do use NEWSELA.
Okay.
I think some of our social studies teachers have used it as well. There's some great.
We're partner with like the Southern Poverty Law Center, Howard Zinn.
Yeah,
They-
yeah, yes. Now, our teachers know that. They're not saying that out loud. Does that make sense? Semantics.
Mom and dad don't need to know that. You said that they have NEWSELA here. I didn't know that was a common thing.
Yeah. Yep. And lots of districts use that as well.
Really?
Yep, around here, yeah. Yep.
So like the watches find out about it.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that like the way we could bring in the ideas that they would call critical race theory?
Yeah, yeah, that's one of them, yeah, for sure. Yep.
So we use NEWSELA in a couple of different
This is Ohio.
capacities. So we use it for not only some of our like core content, so our social studies uses it.
Yeah.
But we use it as a supplement for language arts also.
There's something NEWSELA or you able to use it?
Yeah.
Nice. Parents don't freak out.
We, in fact, our main go-to.
NEWSELA.
Yeah. Yeah, no one's really given us heat.
And I know what you're thinking, Adam, they probably only use NEWSELA in Berkeley, California, Boulder, Colorado, the really progressive places. Well, how about Texas? Texas recently banned critical race theory from being taught in their public schools. Mind you, they just announced a partnership with NEWSELA to write the state assessments for social studies. Literally the organization that gets 1619 Project into classrooms will be writing the state assessments for students in Texas. It's outrageous.
NEWSELA partners with the 1619 Project, so they can teach the exact same content. And the parents are never put off by the content, they're usually put off by the labels.
Right.
So as long as they don't see that New York Times label on it.
They don't see that label on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's how our teachers are really approaching it too.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, I think that, they are not afraid to teach the content as it happens.
Good.
But they're just not putting any labels on.
Yeah.
And as long as they can tie it back to the standards, they're covered because they are actually, that's really the bottom line. Are you teaching that academic standards as they're listed? And as long as they're listed in the standards, they're teaching what, they're required to teach.
And I'd like to think that the standards are kind of loose enough that it allows for a lot of leeway for a teacher to make an independent decision.
Yes, it does.
Get a big search for CRT everywhere.
It's,
Zero. I mean, that. Yeah, right. I'll just talk about the adopted stuff, not all of it.
Now, you may not think that NEWSELA is in your state or in your school district, but you're probably wrong because NEWSELA is nearly everywhere. They claim to be in over 90% of the school districts across the country. They say they have 25 million students and more than 2 million teachers signed up. Don't look now, but NEWSELA is probably everywhere, including in your school. Stay tuned to our website, aim.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Again, I'm Adam Gillette with Accuracy Media.
So that tells you right there, that just tells you right there how these administrators, several teachers are using this. And if you're a teacher that says, okay, well, we're going to use some news organization clips, whatever, to teach something, and you're not aware fully, especially these younger teachers that really aren't fully aware of politics and the news. There's a lot that can happen. So a lot of teachers say that they just decry, we're not teaching that stuff. And maybe they're not, but they're using this system. It's not a class called CRT. It's not a class called, it can be critical theory of anything. Remember, we've talked critical race, critical orientation, critical queer theory, whatever it is, it can be used, and it's Marxist theory. So it's the divide and conquer kind of a thing. So Now, let's get into the actual form the way that I normally do it. And I've only done the first 5 points. And the reason for this, you guys, these videos right here just blew this company out of the water. I really don't even have to do that much more. You know that they are trying to achieve critical media literacy. And it's not only in NEWSELA. I found it in Savvis Learning and their ELA information. It's, a matter of fact, the author of theirs actually pretty much wrote the book on a lot of this. It's everywhere. It's in several of these digital programs. So NEWSELA just happens to be probably the most well-afforded one. The greatest damage will probably come through NEWSELA, specifically because of its connections to the social media world as well. So anyway, DEI, are there, did I find anything in DEI? Well, I will be a little redundant here. Of course, there's DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion information all throughout. I have all kinds of things listed here for you, and you can look in these different links as well. So, and when I post this PDF later on, you may only get the picture of this, but I have the links below it, so you'll be able to go online and get your videos. And if if for some reason the videos go down, I will find another way to get them to you. All right, so also here are a few screenshots from their About section on their website. We talked about BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, Person of Color, non-BIPOC, would be the opposite. We would be as the oppressors. And my recommendation to everyone is, and I have Black friends that talk about this with me. They're not down for this stuff. White is also a color. And to classify and draw attention to use it to manipulate children, I think that's about as racist as you can be. So here's Beyonce. You can learn about her and write a report on her. They are in support of anti-racist instruction. It's all throughout their system. This month, their Pride write-up this month is, I'll have the link for that, but it's off the charts as well. So you can see pretty much all of this information here. Now, one thing that I want to do as well, I've kind of talked with you about how to sign up for a NEWSELA Lite account already. I want you to know of this resource. I've added it to our left pane in order for us to understand why is it that NEWSELA wants to control all the books. They literally say on Yahoo Finance that books are dead. They are out to replace static books. And we've all talked about that, what's happening with these systems, whether they're fluid or static. Another word for fluid would be dynamic, meaning it can change. It's unsecured. They can put whatever they want in it, bait and switch, however they want to control it. Who was known for saying, "He who controls the youth controls the future"? That was a Hitler saying, and I don't like to quote Hitler because what he did was so horrific. And I don't try to marginalize people by calling them Nazis or anything like that. I really don't. But if you're going to sit here and take the country and take the schools toward communism, well, we just have to open the book, right? So here is a very valuable book that you can use. In the Nazi Conspiracy and Aggression, Volume 1, Washington, D.C. This is in the Library of Congress. You can file into these because this is the Nuremberg International Military Trials, and you need to see this. This is so important. I want to compare and contrast something for you, just like I did earlier with the Castle Doctrine, and I will definitely put this in the Castle Doctrine as an update. Remember, we had the pledge. And it was so chilling to read. If you've never read it before, it's they're pledging to social and emotional learning. And when you get down here, it's like, I will work alongside others to identify and dismantle inequities, stand up to injustice, and use our collective voice and power to create spaces where everyone thrives. I will use my power, my privilege, my time, my work, my influence, my lived experience, my love, my passion, my energy, and my resolve. Because when we commit to social and emotional learning, we can build stronger schools and communities today and a more just and caring world tomorrow. All right, let's look at Hitler's youth pledge. In the presence of this blood banner, which represents our Fuhrer, I swear to devote all my energies and all my strength to the savior of our country, Adolf Hitler. I am willing and ready to give up my life for him, so help me God. One people, one right, one Fuhrer. Folks, do you see the similarities? That it's very similar. It's eerie. So understand, if you're going to open up this kind of behavior and have pledges and all this stuff, understand that and when you quote Hitler, I mean, Moms for Liberty, they had a quote of Hitler on one of their documents. They got just trashed for it. And you have to know, have make sure you have your links, have your proof, and say, no, this is what he did. And here's your comparison. I did find this in the Castle information. So that, guys, that right there will chokehold any liberal, believe me. All right, so on down, here they're talking about voting to students. They're getting very, it's all of this will come up. And then look at this. Here's share diverse perspectives, Pride Month activities for students. So here's NEWSELA bringing all of this information. Read through this and understand. I mean, let's talk about some ideas for your schools. Have gender neutral prom courts to be more inclusive. Review research about why more U.S. teens than ever before are identifying as transgender or other non-traditional gender terms. Folks, read through this for yourself. Understand, they're wanting to give ideas. A lot of these administrators go to these school board conventions in the summer. God only knows what's happening this summer. Usually it's about right now or next week. Look and see what your school boards are doing. Find out what is on their agenda, open record on it. Say, what was the agenda? What was taught in the school board meetings for this summer? Find out all this information, because that's where you'll get ahead of them and find out what's taking place, how they're being bent and swayed to go along with all of these things, as well. It's just unbelievable. And you've got to dig in. You can't just assume. We have got to do the gatekeeping at the local level. Company officers. Of course, Matthew Gross is another Columbia graduate. And so he and Dan Kogan-Drew are the co-creators. I didn't really go into a whole lot about their background, because you can just tell what their background is, and we can dive into that more. This past month, my husband and I, we had a very challenging month. My mother-in-law passed away, and my dad moved here so I could help with him. So anyway, we've had a very active month. So I didn't really go deep diving into these two guys there, because you can tell the flavoring of the company and who they partner with and everything else. Now, this you will find very interesting. Digital library access. Oh, absolutely. It's all throughout NEWSELA, because they want to replace all the books. So of course they are. The best way that you can go and find out if they have what the American Library Association calls banned books, and I've talked with you about that before. They're really restricted books. They're not banned. You can't even buy them if they're banned, y'all. So anyway, if you want to go and look at this list of banned books and put them in the search engine on a NEWSELA Lite account, of course you'll find them. Here's The Handmaid's Tale. It's one of them on the banned list. Here's Melissa, formerly published as George by Alex Gino. Here's Melissa. Here's your author right here. He Loves Glitter and Ice Cream. Y'all just go for however much of that you want to read. But here, go to these sites right here, ratedbooks.org and booklooks.org, and you can find out what is actually in these books, and you can knock yourself out. But I will say, be careful. Don't open it up around kids, because it is vile. It is vile, and it's not something I like to spend a lot of time in myself. All right. Finance information. Folks, read this about all of the money that is behind NEWSELA. With 37 million registered students and 2.5 million registered teachers in 90% of all U.S. schools, NEWSELA is well on its way toward making legacy materials like textbooks and long-term lock-in commitments they represent a relic of the past. Now, if you didn't think that public schools were dangerous up until this point, you should think it now. You know, if you've got a Christian kid in a school, or you have a belief system, you know, some kind of a religious belief, believe me, whatever is going on in the secular humanistic worldview is going to be predominantly taught to your child, and that is what will disciple your child into their adult life. So when you see all of this and you can look through all of this information, it's crazy. Now, I want you to understand as well, this particular company started out as a unicorn company. Now, I had no idea what that was before I started doing this. I did a segment with Alex Newman a couple of years ago on this. And a unicorn company is basically the company starts out $1 billion. It's backed with $1 billion. Okay, so it starts out with that value straight ahead. And there's a lot of companies like Uber, you'll see a lot of them on here, but in business, a unicorn is a privately held startup, so it's privately held, valued at over $1 billion from the start. The term was first published in 2013, coined by venture capitalist Eileen Lee, choosing the mythical animal to represent the statistical rarity of such successful ventures. So we know about unicorns too. So there you go. So here's all that information for you to learn and read and share with other people. So now think about critical media literacy and think about the brainwashing measures the American school system keeps on with your students. You know, think again, is this safe? Here's some of your investors. This is on Crunchbase. You've got Zuckerberg Initiative, Chan Zuckerberg, Chan is his wife, Franklin Templeton, Waycross Ventures, Jennifer Coogan, Zuckerberg Education Ventures. So, you know, he's hit it twice. So a lot of this money comes right out of old Zuckerberg's pocket. Now, we're about to wrap this up and where you can ask some questions. One thing I wanted to tell you guys, because we've talked about interoperability, we've talked about how computers talk to each other in cyberspace. If you don't think that this social media giant, partnering with critical media literacy as well, partnering in the schools with the school records as well, if you don't think they're studying what your kid is involved in, whatever they're involved in with their phone, if your child is involved with porn, and many, many, many of them are, if you don't think that they can't drive a narrative deep into the soul of your child, you need to think again. And you also need to think again about that cell phone. That cell phone, the smartphone is the dumbest thing we've ever done for children especially. But this movie, The Social Dilemma, and you'll have to get a Netflix account, and it's worth getting it for at least a month to watch the movie. But this movie will talk and display and show you so much about how all of this works. This one man, Norman P. Moen, he has written this information about the movie that you really need to take some time to read, but it talks just about these kids are digital natives and they are in a digital world, and we need to protect them. And it just exposes so much about what's happening. And when you go to Project Unicorn, and remember that this is the Gates Foundation and the Dell Foundation are behind this. They're two of the major supporters of this particular organization. You know, a lot of this data that's collected, folks, this is some serious stuff. So anyway, this is where I'm ending the document today, because folks, I could go through all these other things. Oh, one thing I do want to show you down here. The privacy evaluation for NEWSELA is only 72%, and it has a warning on it by Common Sense Media. So there you goes that. And but anyway, NEWSELA, it's in full agreement with the global plans of the American school system. So you know that this is a completely woke delivery system in the school for ideology. And I just want you to know, I can't give this a strong enough warning. Your school most likely has it. When I pulled all the schools in just the zone that I used to cover in Georgia, it was 12 school districts that I would look through. I think almost every one of them had it. So I would say to you guys, really be looking into this. Get the word out on this. When I get this posted on my website later on, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it on Insta, anywhere that you're going, share it. And make sure that you give it to your pastors, make sure that you send it to your legislators, anyone, because this right here, like he said, is going to be codified all the way through every state. And this will drive the narrative like we've never seen it. It's on steroids. So with that, I will take questions. So here's Robert Tuttle. He says, I helped stop CRT in our schools back in 22, and I try to keep an eye on things. This is a good additional content, but we mostly know about how bad things are in the schools. Please always address what we can do about it, especially best practices for investigating and challenging this with administrators, the community, or media. Okay, well, I agree with you, with you, Mr. Tuttle. The thing about it is, what can we do about it? Well, you can take this document in hand with proof to your school board meeting. You can take it to your administrator because they'll know that you're onto them. You can take that video and expose it to them. I think this document in hand gives you an absolute powerful tool to use. This is a local, all of this, guys, is local. You have to do the work. This isn't going to be a trickle down through your politicians. We can't trust them anymore. We know that. So you have to do the work at your local level, in your local area, showing these local parents. And as far as that goes, I don't know. I don't know anything else to say. This is not going to be an easy process for sure. So anyway, yes, Miss Amber, I will have all of that done. And Miss Patty, hadn't heard of NEWSELA. It's probably included in the Gale and EBSCO databases that schools use in their computers. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they connect somehow. I'm sure they do because there's money to be made, right? So anyway, are there any other questions? Any other questions? And remember, if you think of one, you can always email me, parentsonthelevel@gmail.com. Be glad to answer any other questions. I always seem to get several after the fact because you kind of have to sit there and just process it for a few minutes. It's a lot. So anyway, I'll give you just another moment. I'm really hopeful that as we take these kinds of questions and these types of tools into an administrator, that you will be putting them in the hot seat and that they're not going to know how to respond, especially if you've got the inside. Can we link to the Parents on the Level website in a social media? Absolutely. You can link it wherever you want to link it because we want this word to get out. So, yep, you're not going to hear complaints from me. All right. Any others? Robin. Hey, Robin. EBSCO and Gale databases have media literacy curricula. They have their own. See, it's everywhere. They're making money. Money. Can we get a list of school districts that use NEWSELA that have contracts? What state are you, Andrew? I have several states on here, folks. What you got? I mean, pretty much the whole thing is like, for me, I went into open.ga.gov and pulled Georgia's because that's where I'm most familiar. I just moved from Georgia to Florida, so I've got to get more acclimated to the Florida information on how I can find out what's been purchased. But if you can find out what's been purchased in your area, or just do an open record, or look, some schools will list all of their curricula products on their website. Georgia, by law, they're supposed to. A lot of them don't do it because it's not enforced. But anyway, just find out, do they have NEWSELA? Ask your kids. You ever see this thing, NEWSELA? They should be able to tell you as well. So yeah, and lots of them do it lock, stock, and barrel. I've seen some spend over $1 million for their school district on it, and I've seen some spend maybe $2,000. So it just depends on what package they purchase, I imagine. Anybody else? I'm so glad all you guys came out in the middle of summer. I think it's awesome. All right. Thanks, Robert. Thank you so much. Andrew's in Ohio. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't scroll up. So check how it's purchased. And Audra Deaver, Do school districts have the ability to use some of NEWSELA and not others? I've heard from administrators already in Texas, they use some of the online curriculum, but others. Isn't that convenient for them to say that? And one teacher might say that to you while the next teacher is teaching the woke stuff. So yeah, don't buy that, Miss Audra. Don't buy that at all. Just say, why would you support a company that would want to just destroy our nation like this and destroy children? Jack Nucky, Fernandina Beach. We asked our county school system via public record request for a list of all vendors in the school system. I use that spreadsheet every time you share a new SEL vendor. Great job, Jack. Jack's awesome with doing that. So, all right, Chris. Thank you, Marcia. Oh, you are so welcome. Yeah, never a dull moment. You're exactly right. It's like the fire hose that's knocking me down as I'm trying to learn all this stuff. And Robin, the American Library Association, every library support legislation that mandates, yeah, they do. Yep, they do. Anonymous, we need more of this information. Oh, you are so welcome. So welcome. Be sure to connect with me. And guys, if you don't have a copy of the Parent Navigator, I have a lot of links about various companies and also like how Cognia and a lot of the other accreditation bureaus are bringing a lot of these things into our schools as well. I have all kind of information in there for you. If you email me, I'll be glad to send you a copy of Parent Navigator. Also, the Child Parent Rights Campaign, they have a lot of great information in the world of transgenderism that's taken over the schools. I always plug them. Courage is a Habit is another. And then this Accurate Media, the video that I had, they have a lot going on as well. And one thing we need to do as conservatives is really start promoting others that are doing things. These guys work hard. A lot of us don't even get paid. I don't get paid to do this much, you know. These are the things that people do because they love children, they love God, they love America. So we've got to promote one another. We all have our own little nuanced view on these things. So let's make sure we stick together, okay? Any others? I think that's it. So I hope you guys have a great summer. Next month, my friend Jack Nucky and I are going to knock you out some Savas learning together. So make sure that you sign in on that because we are going to turn up the heat. This company is completely woke and we're going to prove it. So make sure you come back in next month. We'll do it as quick as we can, but even if there's not many because people are vacationing that week or whatever, we'll at least, you'll be able to see the video. So make sure though, please share these videos. Please ask other people to come in. So let's keep promoting one another. Thanks for that comment, Audra. All right, God bless. Have a great summer month. Go on vacation. Get away from this stuff for just a little bit, but then get local busy. Thanks. Take care. Bye now.